Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Break the Cycle with me, your host, Joshua Smith. Welcome to Friday, folks. We made it. It's the weekend officially. Crack those whiskeys open. Enjoy yourself. You earned it. Guys, we've got another awesome show for you tonight. I'm super stoked. It's just like one show after another. Just awesome shows every night. It's always got me stoked. Like, I get done with the 12-hour day, and I come home to do a show, and I'm not even, like, I'm tired, and then I get home, and I'm just so stoked again, I don't even need to go to sleep right away. Right away, at least. Let's start off with some sponsors. Of course, we have TopLobster.com, the man, the myth, the legend, my good friend and partner on Break the Cycle, where you can get this awesome Ron Paul, It Didn't Have to Be This Way hoodie that I'm wearing today for 10% discount by using BTC at checkout, or you can join the Patreon, subscribe star, or become a member of the YouTube channel right here underneath any of the videos and get into a private Discord server with some based people and get like 30% discount on all of his new stuff up to 2 weeks before it goes to the general public. It really pays for itself if you guys get one of the small memberships, like $5 a month or whatever. And of course, executive producer of the show, AnthemPlanning.com, for all your emergency and crisis planning needs. Check them out today. See what they can do for your business, home, or personal life. They're doing a wonderful job that the government has historically been horrible at, much cheaper and much more efficiently. Guys, a couple weeks ago, I think it was a couple weeks ago now, I was posted online. I wanted to have a conversation with somebody about monarchism because I made some comments. You know, in the past I had made some comments about how I thought maybe, you know, democracy was horrible idea. You know, we were one of the first countries to adopt it, and it's failing terribly. And so I reached out to a bunch of people trying to have this conversation about monarchy, because I was kind of thinking maybe it'd be better to have a benevolent monarch than you know, the Democrats ruling my life every day. And I came across this gentleman who I know from Twitter. A lot of people were telling me to have him on, and I'm very excited to do so. He is the founder of Hoppe.org. He is Jared. Sir, how you doing tonight?
Doing great, Josh. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate you coming on. I see that you went with the Get Up tonight. What's that all about? Yeah.
So if you read our site at all on the About page, you'll know a lot of us have been targeted. And as such, you know, it's a good idea for me to keep my identity, at least my public identity, secret. So this is what I chose. I thought it's very topical, right, with the whole Afghanistan thing. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Oh, did I just throw you? I threw you out of the stream, dude. I'm sorry. I physically removed you, bro.
Oh no.
Well, let's
That's
talk.
all right. That's your right, man.
Yeah, it is. It is. This is my covenant community. But let's talk.
Right.
Let's talk about your journey, man, to Hoppe and Anarchy, man. How did you get there? Where did you come from?
Wow. Okay. So 2003, I was probably most accurately described as a neocon. What a terrible thing to be described as. Now my biggest enemy that I could ever imagine having are neocons. But after that, I discovered some libertarianism. I unfortunately read Anarchy, State, and Utopia. I thought at the time that was a good book. That led me to Rothbard, and I read a little bit of Rothbard, not much. I had read, what else did I read at around that time? I had read some Bastiat and some Thomas Sowell and stuff like that. And then as the years went on, I read a little more here and there, discovered paleo-libertarianism before even Ron Paul was on the scene, thought that sounded great. And I really, at that point, started really hating neocons. And I had discovered a book by Justin Raimondo, Reclaiming the American Right. If you haven't read that book, if anybody hasn't read that book, read that book. It explains so much. And then Ron Paul came on the scene, 2008. And of course, you know, I was all in. And then he had lost. At that time, the whole libertarian movement pretty much was just really getting started again. Then, of course, you know, as we all know, Ron Paul lost in 2008. 2012 rolls around. He's back on the scene. At that time, a lot of the online libertarian community got really big. That's when I really started to get more involved, pay more attention, go back to reading. After 2012 and all of that, we saw, at least to me, what I would describe as a kind of a functional collapse, or at least a miniature collapse of the liberty movement at that time. And Josh, are you familiar with the Daily Poll?
The what?
The Daily Poll.
Is that the newsletters?
No.
I'm just kidding.
So back in the day, I will defend those newsletters.
Of course, yeah. No, I get it.
So anyway, around that time online, it was one of the large Ron Paul forums, and the Daily Poll were the two biggest online places together to talk about the Ron Paul campaign, libertarianism, and everything else. It was the place. After that, there were definitely some conflicts after 2012, especially after Ron Paul leaving. And there were, I guess you could say, issues or conflicts inside of the libertarian movement, especially on the Daily Poll. There was definitely a difference of opinion and how things should be discussed and so on and so forth. And there were definitely hardcore differences between people. And that revolves around left and right. There were a lot of left libertarians and a lot of Democrats and people from the left that the libertarians were trying to pull into the Ron Paul movement. There was a big push at that time to pull in these people. And then there were also classic right libertarians. And there was a big conflict there. Needless to say, that website collapsed. I don't even know if the archive is still up anymore. The owner of the website decided, I'm just going to shut this down because I can't resolve these issues in any way. So we're just going to shut it down and we'll archive the site. But now I think if you go to dailypoll.com, I don't even think the archive is up anymore. So that whole thing happened. And then 2013, 2014, I threw myself into learning as much as I could. I didn't have all the answers that I thought I would have. There's a lot of, everybody gets a little arrogant, and I was definitely arrogant at that time, but I didn't have all the answers, right? I could pick a neocon, squarely in the teeth with a bunch of rhetoric very easily, but couldn't explain a lot of things. So I really, really delved myself into reading. I got more and more and more involved in the reading. I read Man, Economy, and State. I read a bunch of other Rothbard books, and I discovered a lot of Hoppe. So I read Democracy, the God That Failed, and I really believe that changed my entire perspective. Even my concept of libertarianism completely changed, and I think that really put me where I was. 2015, 2016, online at least, there was definitely a huge presence of what I would call lolberts. The left libertarian, progressive libertarian, whatever you want to call them.
The regime libertarians.
Yeah. Those people too. I do make a distinction between regime libertarians, Cato and, Fee and all that kind of those people, libertarianism.org. I roll my eyes whenever I say libertarianism.org. What a joke. But I think that, I think ultimately that that really caused me to reevaluate what I was doing, because if I understood these ideas as well as I do after doing all that reading, how on earth could I sit there and just let this kind of Lolbertism, this unwell-read kind of leftism takeover of the libertarian moment happen and not push back out against it at all? So there was a previous attempt at starting Hoppe.org under a different brand, which is basically a pushback. And then finally, after years of dealing with this in 2020, we said, I got together with some friends and some good people, and we decided to start Hoppe.org. And that's what we are. We're a response to that kind of leftist libertarianism that I don't think really has a place in our movement. I think it's a mutation of what real libertarianism is, in my opinion.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And so it's funny. We're obviously, when it comes to principle and the philosophy, we're probably almost dead like same, you know what I mean? But I obviously work with the Libertarian Party. I sit on the Libertarian National Committee, and it's, inside the party for years, because Murray's one of the founders of the party, right? Murray Rothbard. And, he walked away when the Cato split happened, became Mises, stuff like that. And now there's this kind of resurgence of the Mises libertarians trying to take back over the Libertarian Party, which I think is beautiful. But these regime libertarians and the Lolberts have basically owned the party full sail with no one, opposing them for more than 2 decades, basically.
Yeah. I mean, they not only own the party, they owned the conversation, and that's the most dangerous thing to me. For that long of a time, they really owned the entire conversation. There was no pushback. If you pushed back at all against the kind of the left-wing narratives or any of the left-wing positions that they had, you were immediately a racist or a Nazi or a fascist or what have you, whatever the popular term for dismissing any kind of right-wing behavior was at the time. That's what they did. They would smear you. Rothbard used to call them the smear bund, right? Like, that's what these people do. They just smear you. And I don't know if you want to get into this right now or not, but I do enjoy the story of Rothbard leaving the Libertarian Party the first time.
Yeah, let's talk about it a little bit, man. I know a little bit about it. Obviously, I'm good friends with Karen Ann Harlos, who is basically the party historian at this point. She runs the entire history facet of the Libertarian Party. So we've talked about it a little bit. What's your take on it? What do you know about it?
So I can't remember the article right now. I can probably give it to you later, but there was an article that Murray Rothbard wrote about 5 years after he left the Libertarian Party. He had said at the time that I can't be a part of the Libertarian Party anymore because it's infiltrated by egalitarians. And the two gentlemen that he had approached, Murray didn't name the gentleman that he had approached at the time, calling them egalitarian, calling everybody in the party egalitarians. But he basically approached them and said, the party's full of egalitarians. I'm leaving. This isn't the place for me anymore. The two gentlemen in question pushed back against Murray and said, egalitarians? That's crazy. There are no egalitarians in the Libertarian Party. Today, that would seem insane. Everyone's an egalitarian. No offense to you or the Mises caucus, but the regime libertarians or the regime Libertarian Party at the time, or not too long ago, they were all egalitarians. So needless to say, Rothbard leaves. And then after that, not long after, these two gentlemen both write articles that promoted egalitarianism. And those articles, right, exactly. The test that Murray applied was the Dr. King test. Murray was not a fan of Martin Luther King.
Sure.
He was definitely not a big fan. He called him a communist and a coercive integrationist, and there's plenty of evidence to prove that is in fact the case. And these guys immediately came out and said, much to Murray's chagrin, that Martin Luther King was a great libertarian. Well, on what planet does a guy that associates with the Communist Party and promotes Communist Party lines and promotes coercive integration and egalitarianism a libertarian? So Murray said, that was a decision that he said he never regretted, really, once he saw that happen. So that's my understanding of the history of that. I don't know if Murray ever flirted with the idea of coming back to the Libertarian Party. I think that he was very hurt about the Libertarian Party and his endeavor to cooperate with the left before that, which was the SDS and YAF fiasco. If you know anything about that,
I remember. I know about his time flirting with the left for sure, and obviously his later in life really going after the right and the populist message and stuff like that. So man, I mean that's pretty much what I know about it as well. I don't think Murray ever tried to return to the party. He did many times over the next several years come and speak at libertarian conventions and get-togethers and stuff like that for the rest of his life basically. And he did always call the LP the political arm of the liberty movement, but I know that he was very unhappy with the way it went. I know that there was times when he was kind of on the outside of people trying to come back and change things in the party. And now we have the Mises takeover of the party where we've already secured at a minimum of 26 state boards.
Yeah, and congratulations to you guys about that. It really, you surprised me And that's hard to do with as much as I've seen politically go on in my life, and as much as I know about politics. That's not an easy task. And regardless of my position on that, that's something to be congratulated for.
Well, and here was the thing that stuck with me the most. So rewind 5 years ago when the Mises Caucus was an idea and 50 people in a Facebook group. Okay, 4 years ago. I was running for chairman of the party. And I went on Tom Wood's show, and Tom said something that stuck with me literally forever. It'll never leave me. He said, "Look, when people think about the word libertarian in the United States, they don't think about the Mises Institute right away. They don't, there's thousands that do, but the normies, they don't. They don't think about the Mises Institute. They don't think about Hoppe and Rothbard and Mises. And so if we're going to have they think about the Libertarian Party. And so if we're going to have a Libertarian Party in the country, it should be run by people who, exude libertarian principles at the very least, because it can be used for, at a minimum, educational outlet. And that's what I look at it as, if we're going to, and that's what the Mises Caucus wants. We want to help fund local candidates because we can make a big difference in the community, and we want the national party to really be an educational outlet. We want to run a presidential candidate that's going to make a 50 state media tour talking about unabashed, unforgiving libertarianism to normies on mainstream media. So that's really what they're about. And so when I heard that message, I was like, this works for me. This is in line with my principles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so we talked a little bit about this before. Let me address some of these super chats. Marshall Ford, thanks for the $5 super chat. He said he just wants to wish a very happy birthday to the GOAT himself. Happy 86th birthday to Dr. Paul. Yes, sir. Everybody.
Absolutely.
Everybody say happy birthday to Ron Paul right now in the chat. Say happy birthday to Ron Paul in the chat.
Anybody that doesn't say it has to fight me.
Yeah. Fight us both. You got to fight us both.
Yeah, that's right.
Nick Ashley dropped $2. He just said feet.
You're not seeing my feet, Nick.
It's always Nick Ashley. Base King Nick, man. He's like the fifth most watched episode I've ever had on the show, if you can believe it.
I love Nick.
Yeah,
Nick he's a great dude.
Yeah. Shenanigans with Sam, $3 super chat. How big of a super chat to plug my extreme book? Well, that's an extreme book, buddy. I don't know. We'll have to talk about it. But anyway, so we were talking a little bit about this before the show started. So I'm a big Rothbard guy. I mean, I got like 5 Rothbard books behind me somewhere, and I've been reading Rothbard for years. It's really what opened the window that I could never shut again. You know what I mean? Like before.
He has the ability to do that, doesn't he?
Yeah. Well, it was like before that I had Ron Paul. Okay. I found Ron Paul in like 2007. I worked on Ron Paul's campaign in 2008. And I was a neocon too.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I was a neocon too. I went off right after 9/11 and went to war. And when I got back, I was so jaded on the military industrial complex. And I was like, there's no fucking way I'm going to be a part of the Bush Cheney GOP. Anymore. You know what I mean?
What a awful thing.
Yeah, just horrible, and so then I found Ron Paul in 2007, and he just really spoke. I mean, everything he was saying, I couldn't find anything wrong with it. So I joined his campaign in 2008 in fucking California, if you can believe that, right outside of Oakland. I was at, and then in 2012, I'm walking around the Occupy movement trying to shill for Ron Paul, which is not an easy feat, let me tell you.
You've been in the trenches, I'll tell you.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. And so I worked on Ron Paul's campaign. I found Murray Rothbard sometime after. Actually, I found Milton Friedman. I started reading like Capitalism and Freedom, and then I found F.A. Hayek, which is kind of a natural progression, and then Rothbard, and then eventually Mises. And somebody that I never really got into was Hoppe, right? Last year, I don't know if it was last year. It was more than a year ago. I went on Fakertarian's podcast, and I pissed some people off because they started asking me questions about Hoppe. And I was like, yo, I haven't read enough Hoppe to make a informed decision on what you guys are talking about. You know what I mean? And, there was a couple of my friends were like, you threw Hoppe under the bus. And so I was like, you know what, fuck this. I'm going to go read Hoppe. And I started reading Democracy. And man, it was great shit, dude. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was good, dude. And so now I've defended Hoppe on a bunch of stuff, and those people that were going to hate me anyways hate me, which I don't give a shit about. But I do need to, kind of apologize if people thought I was trying to throw Hoppe under the bus. That was never, ever my intention. I just was not well enough read at the time.
And look, if anybody has a problem with Josh over that, I would much rather somebody say, "Hey, I'm not well read enough to defend the man. Maybe let's come back and do this later," than someone provide a bad defense and someone provide an easy opening for someone to crush that argument. That's a terrible way to go to deal with something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, Burt Grimm's like, Hoppe sucks, dude. Read Black Mutualist tweets. First of all, that's Chakra Khan. You better get it right. No, I just didn't know a lot about him, but he is really good. So let's talk about your understanding of Hoppe. What was it about Hoppe that really brought you in and made you want to like start Hoppian.org and all that stuff?
So Hoppe to me, obviously is the protege of Murray Rothbard and very much the continuation in my mind of Rothbard was what Rothbard never really got to finish. Once Rothbard got into, the late 80s and the 90s, that was pretty much the end, right? So at that point, who would be better to take it on than the man that Rothbard praised as brilliant multiple times, and saying that he proved him wrong on several things on the natural rights theory with argumentation ethics. At that point, there's if you get into democracy and you read Democracy, if you read A Short History of Man, in my opinion, is so underrated. To fundamentally be able to describe how humanity pulled itself out of darkness, how the division of labor is one of the most beautiful things to ever exist, how separation in the division of labor keeps us free, keeps us in peace, allows us to trade and produce and own property. What a brilliant little book. I really enjoyed that book. And Democracy, of course, crushing the. To me, back in the day, I was like I may have been a neocon, but I was also like a hardcore kind of patriot, anti-federalist too, right? Sure. Like I loved all that stuff. Loved reading about the founding fathers. I thought, oh well, I'm definitely a Republican in the sense of republicanism, right? Like that, I love the Constitution. I love this. I love the Declaration of Independence. I love all of this stuff. And then you read Democracy, and if you're honest, it's a revelation. It's like reading Anatomy of the State for the first time or watching Ron Paul give a speech. To me, it's the third revelation you can have as a libertarian is to read Democracy, the God That Failed. It's going to change you. If it doesn't change you in some way, then I don't know what to say. I mean, to me, it's one of the most brilliant books ever written. The idea that this holy temple that the state has created through democracy is now totally destroyed via Hoppe and totally suppressed, and your perspective on how and why democracy is not only not good, but in ways that it's totally evil, does something to people that you can't go back,
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you. So I used to be a democracy guy too, obviously. And I was for a long time, the Constitution. It was really Spooner that took me out of that. I mean, once I read Spooner, I was like, "Oh,
yeah,
okay.
No treason.
Yeah,
don't read no treason."
I was like, "Okay, well, this is all bullshit. I've been living a lie all these years." But Hoppe definitely takes it to like a whole nother level. And let's talk a little bit about monarchy and
sure.
Versus democracy. And I made this comment on Twitter. I said, I believe that it's almost probably better to have like a benevolent monarchist than it is to have a democracy, because we're watching what democracy devolves into in real time in the worst fucking possible way, especially over the last year. We have these people telling us you're going to put this thing in your body or you're not going to be able to go to the fucking grocery store and get groceries for your children. That's what democracy does. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, I mean, what's your take on monarchy, and why do you think it would probably be a better idea than democracy?
So if someone's honest with themselves, I mean, the first question you should ask is, are we freer today or are we freer under King George? If you answer today, then you're a fool. If you answer King George, then you've got some tough questions to ask yourself, right? So at that point, it's like, okay, so if you look at monarchy, right, you got one guy. The one guy is held in absolute, I guess, in absolute responsibility, right? Whereas under democracy, you get this false notion that you have participation and then you have a say. And in some ways you do, but the only thing you have a say over is how much you can rob your neighbor for. And that's really the difference to me. It's really the only difference is that, under the king, yes, the king may be brutal and tyrannical and evil, but you have someone to hold responsible. This notion that the state doesn't really even exist. That's the greatest trick democracy ever pulled, was to prove that, or to show, or to put forward that the state doesn't really exist, and that you're the state. You're not the state. The state is the state, and the state is evil. And this is the illusion that still today, a majority of Americans totally believe. They believe in freedom and democracy, and really, those two things are totally antithetical. And it's kind of sad. I wish I could airdrop copies of Democracy: The God That Failed all over the country. It might help.
Yeah, it might. But these fucking losers don't read anymore, man.
No. Well, and this is really goes to some of the things that Hoppe talks about, is that time preference. Look at the rise of short tidbits of news, right? The shock value that some of these clips get, right? Like that's the way that news devolved, right? They devolved from just talking about things and having discussions and people on to sound bites, right? That's what the news devolved into. And then social media can be shown as the same way. If you look back at, say, MySpace, right? MySpace let you write long diatribes of posts. Then Facebook was shorter and smaller. And then from there, you had Twitter, which way limited people's ability to talk. And now we have short 20-second clips on TikTok, right? The time preference thing here, it shows that itself to be true, and that really democracy has pushed us towards this. The need for instant, short communication and gratification is just obvious to me.
Are you saying that we need to return to tradition and return to MySpace? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, absolutely. Every website on the internet should be MySpace.
Dude, I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, do you know how fucking based MySpace was at the time? It was so it was so cool. Dude, we all learned how to become fucking computer programmers from our mom's basement.
Everybody and their brother posting HTML and script kiddie stuff into their posts. It was amazing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Hey, Marshall Ford, thanks for the $5 super chat, man. He said, why do you think Hoppe is more popular today than he's ever been? Do you think it's because of his based internet memes or his books?
I think it's a combination of both. I think that the marketing that memes can do, meme culture is another great example of this shortness of time preference, because people aren't looking for long articles anymore unless you can get them to that, right? And memes are a good way to get them to that. And with enough bullying, you can get someone to read a book. I mean, I've gotten my friends to all read Democracy by simply pestering them to death to do it. Some of them haven't read a book since high school. So, these are the kinds of things that we need to do. Bert says in the chat to talk about how atheism is high time preference. Oh, man, I'm going to trigger a lot of people if I talk about that. Yeah,
that's going to be a rough one. But go ahead, buddy.
All right. So, if you think about it, what does religion provide? It provides you the ability to put off committing sin and hedonism and things like this for a later payoff, the ultimate payoff of living in the afterlife, right? Whereas atheism says, screw all that, enjoy yourself right now. So it's the ultimate expression of a low and high time preference.
Sure.
And that will definitely piss some people off.
Yeah, I'm religious. I did the I'm agnostic thing for quite a few years. I was going through a weird phase, you know. Really, then I found a pretty lady that was religious, and that changes everything. You know,
there you go. Yeah.
My fiance, she's great. I'm marrying her, you know. So you know, it's I got the good time preference there. But so let's talk about physical removal, because this is something that people constantly try to beat Hoppians over the head with, and let's be honest. A lot of the people that oppose Hoppians have never read Hoppe. I mean, just to be honest. And there's a lot of Hoppians that haven't read Hoppe too. Okay, not all of them, but there's a few. They call themselves Hoppians online for the clout, sure. Right? Yeah. Not real Hoppians. But okay, so let's talk about physical removal. That's something that's constantly used to beat people over the head with, right? You want to physically remove people from society. What is physical removal? As you've read it.
So, look, if you're going to create your own community, and that community has rules, right? Say you have a covenant community. Let's talk about Ancapistan, period, right? Can you really take these people that are constantly trying to subvert you and establish democracy? Is that reasonable? That those people would live in your community if they're constantly trying to rob you or do something like that? No. And the establishment of democracy is a form of robbery. It's a form of degeneration of everything. So to say, hey, you need to leave, or we're going to socially ostracize you, you're not going to be able to buy from our stores and things like this. And then finally, if you use violence or flat out refuse to leave, we're going to take you and make you leave. And it's not to say that we're going to immediately, jump right to the most horrible things that you can imagine, which I'm sure some of these online people are saying all the time, we're going to snatch up a bunch of people and throw them out of helicopters because we disagree with them immediately, right? That's not what that is. What it is to say, you're violating the rules of our community and we're asking you to leave. If you don't leave, then we're going to take more drastic actions, and we're going to use reasonable escalation to get what we need because you agreed to the rules of our community. And if your focus is to establish a libertarian social order within a covenant community, Democrats and communists, and when I say Democrat, I mean people who push democracy, not political Democrats, even though they're often the same, and communists, they can't be sitting there, trying to teach your kids communism and push these things onto you. And people will immediately object and say, well, what about the marketplace of ideas, right? Like, this is a common thing. The marketplace of ideas does not exist. The state uses propaganda. The best ideas don't always win. Look at the Soviet Union. Look at Nazi Germany. Look at Pol Pot. Look at North Korea. Like, the best ideas don't win. That's not the way. It's not a market. It's not the way things work. So at the end of the day, yeah, absolutely. If you're going to violate the rules of my community, get removed. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, the helicopter thing's a funny meme, dude. You know what I mean? Like, it is. Yeah. And I think... and
Hoppe enjoys it. I mean, he thinks it's hilarious. I mean, if you've got a sense of humor, you'd laugh at that, right?
Yeah. Your signal's got real rough, dude. I don't know what's going on. You're like,
can you hear me now?
Let's see. We'll see. So yeah, I had Kinsella on the show, and he was actually with him when he took the picture with the helicopter, Hoppe, and we had a good laugh about that, because back then I was like, did he really do that? He did that? That was great. And then I got a bunch of shit for it. Let's see. Bubblegum Gun, thanks for the $2 super chat. He says, democracy are the roots of communism.
Absolutely. Can you hear me now?
No, you're digitally cutting out, man. I don't know what's going on there. Let's see. It's not my connection. I got the best internet Iowa has to offer.
What about now?
No, you're cutting in and out real bad. I wonder why. Let me. I wonder if I can. Let me see if I can throw you in and back out, and maybe that'll change it. Give me 1 second. Oh, it's the big screen for me now. How am I? Is my connection still doing good? Let me know in the chat, just if it's still doing good. All right, Jared, you back?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, much better.
Okay, cool. So yeah, democracy is the root of communism. It absolutely is. When you look at communism itself, what is the goal of communism? The goal of communism is to create sameness, the uniculture, or the oneness, right? And what does democracy do? It gives you that illusion as well. It's telling you that your voice and your vote and the distribution of other people's wealth ultimately is fine as long as you've got a say, right? And this is the same thing as communism, and it will lead eventually to communism. And I think that that is what you're going to see in the United States. It's what you're going to see in a lot of liberal democracies across the world, is they're eventually all going to degenerate into communism and socialism.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't disagree with you, man. And I think we've seen that over and over and over again in any country that's had democracy, really. Even if they call it something different, this democratic socialism or whatever the hell it is.
That's just a fancy way to dress it up. I mean, democratic socialism, that sounds repetitive to me.
I always love it when they're like, well, look at the healthcare they have. And I'm like, yeah, they don't even have the population the size of Texas. Of course they can sustain something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like they've got a high trust society. A lot of their costs are supplemented mostly by oil. Like, look at Norway. Like, they get a lot of their revenue from oil production, state oil production, and things like that. Of course they can offset it. They don't have more population than they do revenue like we do. Yeah.
Everyone's saying the globalists were trying to take you down, bud. That's what's going on.
Of course, they're always after me.
That's what it is. Hey, did you see earlier in the when I posted the thumbnail for the show, Shocker Khan was like, "What the hell is that flag?" My buddy Chris Nance is in the chat. He says you're using the Dixitarian flag. He likes it. He's a big fan of it. He's from North Carolina, so
there you go, right here, Bonnie Blue.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So I want to talk about something funny, because you when I posted the link and all that shit for the show tonight, there was so many people that like posted screenshots of being blocked by you.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? It was like, It was like when we all blocked Archie except you, and blocking everybody else. And I was like, what's that all about, man?
So I had an account on Twitter for a very long time, and I had about 11,000 followers. Argued with Lulberts constantly, and they eventually took me out. And then I restarted, had another account, and they took that one out too. So now I've taken the approach of, well, I'm not really here to debate the left. I'm not here to debate anybody that's on the left. So why do I need to talk to you? The only thing you're going to do is, basically shitpost me and then report all of my tweets. And it's happened repeatedly. I just got in an argument the other day with someone, and people that were defending me in the chat, they got reported. So I blocked all the people that were in there. Why would I expose myself to these people that the only thing they want to do is make, terrible comments and then try and get me digitally removed? I'm just going to remove you from my timeline first. Sure. I've got, back in the day, when Twitter had block lists, I subscribed to one of those to block a bunch of left wingers. And the thing put me at 75,000 or something like that blocked accounts.
Jesus.
Yeah. So like there was that. And then ever since then, anytime anything like that happens, I just start blocking people. Like me getting this message out to the people that have a penchant or I guess I would say that are sympathetic to the message is much more important than trying to convince people that can never be convinced, right? So why even discuss things with them? I'm not here to convince them.
Sure, absolutely. Marsh Ford, thanks for the $2 super chat, man. He said, didn't Hoppe say everyone should read Lenin? I hadn't heard him say that, but I also agree that everyone should read Lenin.
I don't know that he said that. If he has, I don't remember him saying it. May have said it in a lecture, but you absolutely should read Lenin. Lenin was a brilliant strategist, and you should read Trotsky too. Yep. And you should study the history around Trotsky and how he basically his ideology is now the democratic ideology all around the world.
Yeah.
Social imperialism of Trotsky is everything. It's all around us. He really won. He's the one that beat Stalin in the end. Stalin may have killed him, but Trotsky won.
Right. Well, and I'm a big fan of reading the ops philosophy all the time, because if you don't know how to argue it, you just sound stupid half the time anyways.
Right.
I actually wrote a paper that's at Think Liberty. If you guys go look up Joshua Smith, Think Liberty, why philosophy matters. I wrote a whole paper on why it's important to read people like Bakunin and Marx and Engels and who else have I read? So many of these, Bookchin and Kropotkin, and I've read all the commie bullshit, all of it, all the mutualist stuff. I've read it all, because if I'm going to argue against these ideas and, in the marketplace of ideas, then you have to have some firm understanding of what you're arguing against, man.
Not only that, but I mean, ostensibly and provably, you can say that the left's strategy, at the very least, has been the most effective strategy in history, right? The right certainly isn't in control right now. So why not study the people that are winning and figure out how they won? That's why I say read Trotsky all the time. He's brilliant. He was the ultimate original subversionist, right? So definitely read those guys. And not only that as well, that there's things that we can gather in comparison from them. Maybe even what you consider a logical proof. Hoppe did this when comparing Marxist ideology and figuring out that their identification of a lot of the issues that we face today were largely correct. It was just the fact that their solutions and the identification of the people that were starting the problems or how the problems came to be were incorrect, right? Like Marxists say, well, it's class theory and then, evil rich people and blah, blah, blah. Whereas Hoppe identifies correctly that the people that are starting and doing these things are state agents, right?
Sure.
And as a result, we need to focus on the state primarily and not the kulaks, for lack of a better term.
Right. How familiar are you with Yuri Bezmenov, dude?
I've watched that video, but that's about it.
Man, everybody needs to go back and revisit Yuri Bezmenov, dude. He literally warned us of this shit in the 70s and 80s. And I'm telling you, he was like, look, they have already infiltrated your government.
Everything.
They are already here. They are already working to subvert your population, and they're doing it slowly. They're chipping away at you guys. And look where we're at now, okay?
McCarthy was right.
We got doctors posting the gender elephant, pediatric doctors posting the gender elephant. Okay, they're here, dude. They've been here. They're in our government. They're in our schools. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like I don't want to get a little too Alex Jonesy, but the motherfucker was right. He was right.
They're everywhere. They're everywhere. Everywhere you look. Do you really think you can go into any college today and ask someone what their opinion of communism is, and then be revolted at the question? If you really believe that, then I've got a bridge to sell you, right? Right.
Yeah. It's insane, dude. Our educators. I mean, and it started with one or two people. McCarthy was right.
McCarthy was right.
Bezmenov was right. I mean, these people were right. It's funny because when I was running for chair the first time in 2018, I ran for chair of the National Party. I didn't have any support. I'm a fucking maintenance man from the West Coast. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't have a ton of support.
Blue collar, right?
I'm blue collar. I'm a blue collar working class guy. I went up against a guy who used to be a public pretender and trial lawyer. He owned a car dealership. He's a total subversionist.
Oh, God.
I mean, this guy, wild, right? Oh shit! I got a little leak coming from my air vent there. Watch the laptop. Watch the laptop. Here, I'm gonna put a bowl on it. And so, I didn't really have a lot of support, and I came out swinging, man. I was like, look, there's communists in this fucking party. You know what I mean? There's these libertarian socialist people. I had a guy that literally was wearing a Marx shirt debating me on the national convention stage, and I'm going, are you fucking kidding me? This is the Libertarian Party, right? And then
it was like the guy, if you can't see that there were subversionists inside the Libertarian Party, you are a fool, or you are helping them. You are a fool, or you're helping them. Because when what was his name, James Weeks or whatever, that stood up during the first time that we really had some good national coverage in the LP, and the guy gets up on stage, fat ass gets up on stage and strips fucking nude. Like, are you kidding me?
He's skinny. He's skinny now, by the way.
Yeah, well, he is.
Yeah, he fucking lost all of his weight.
That's good. But that was obviously, everybody knows what he was doing.
Right.
Everybody knows what he was doing. And if you don't, you're a fool. So what more can be said?
that was around the same time I decided I was going to run for chair, man. And it was more about my hate for Nicholas Sarwark than anything. You know what I mean? Like it was funny because I've told the story a million times on the show. I don't know I'm doing it again, but I called all the big name libertarians I knew at the time. I was helping this publication called Think Liberty at the time, and I was working in my state party. I was bored. I wasn't going to work for the Republicans or Democrats, and I called all these big name libertarians. They're like, "You're fucking crazy, dude. He's been the two term. He's going for his third term. He's the most popular chair the party's ever had." I was like, "All right, well, if no one else is going to do it, I'm going to do it." You know what I mean? And I never thought I'd do anything, but I ended up on the board. This is my second time, and I carried that Mises caucus target on my back around 40 states over the last 4 years, and we got shit done, man. So hopefully it keeps happening, and we can make that something that at least people can be proud to know exists. Not that they have to be proud to join it, but maybe proud to know that it, like, okay, there's a libertarian party in this country that actually is, like, you know, talking about private property and you know what I mean? Like, so
I trust me, I get the argument. I just, at the end of the day, look, like, this is, and again, you know this, we're on opposite sides.
Oh, sure,
right? Yeah. So, like, you know, no ill will to you. Like I said, congratulations, you guys have done some fantastic work. But at the end of the day, I think that, you know, if the LP is going to be, this is just my opinion, but if the LP is going to be around, I think the LP should either try to play kingmaker or it needs to get out of the way.
Sure.
And if it can't play kingmaker and doesn't know how, it doesn't try and focus on the local level and really make some changes. If it doesn't say, you know, go to Republicans or Democrats either too and say, look, you know, this or this, and we'll, you know, give you a endorsement, or we'll pull out of the race, and start playing some hardcore politics. If it's not willing to do that, then it needs to fold, and the people that are doing damn good work like you really need to start their own pack.
Sure.
And start trying to influence the GOP.
Well, that's a good thing about the Mises too. It's a pack. I mean, it's a giant hybrid pack. So they're a super pack and a regular pack. So they do other work too besides just trying to take over the party. But taking over the party was always a big step because they're so fucking embarrassing.
Oh my God.
I mean,
it really, that's why I hate it. It does more harm than good, or it has done more harm than good.
Yeah.
At least to me, because, like, if you're looking at the party and you see all this garbage going on, you know, like the woman talking about Davi on,
Davi the house elf. I would like to adopt Davi the house elf as our national mascot. Get the fuck out. Get out.
Get out. Yeah. Like, get physically removed, lady. You know?
I couldn't believe that shit.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff, and the, you know, the dancing fat ass stuff and stuff like that. Like, you're literally hurting the most beautiful philosophy and beautiful ideas to ever exist, and the most beautiful explanations for why humanity rose out of darkness. And you're going to sit there and do that,
right?
Like, I hold you in higher contempt than I do the left at this moment. You know what I mean? Like that's because you're intentionally hurting us.
Yeah, you're fucking up the libertarian moment.
Yeah,
I mean,
legit.
Like,
get out of my face, get out of here, you know?
Yeah. Dwight Spelvin, thanks for the, $5 Canadian, whatever the fuck that is. I don't know how much that's worth. It's probably worth more than $5 American at this point. I mean, man.
Day of the rake, man. Yeah. Day of the rake.
He said Hoppe studied under Habermas, and it helped him develop argumentation ethics. Is that true?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Habermas, if you don't know who Habermas is, he's very famous philosopher, and he is a leftist. He was Hoppe's PhD professor, and Habermas developed this thing called discourse ethics. Hoppe used that as a foundation to create argumentation ethics from that. You know, the idea that you can draw ethics from argumentation and discourse is something that predated Hoppe, but Hoppe did it in such a way as to prove self-ownership and prove that, to me, it's a logical proof of self-ownership itself, right? Sure. So, this is what we do, right? Like, this is in general, I highly doubt that was a criticism. I know Dwight, he's a good guy, but I think that this is what philosophers do, right? Like, we pull off of and we build off of what people have done in the past, and Hoppe's no different.
Sure. It's funny, I actually had a conversation with Nick Sarwark at the, I think it was the last national convention. We were at like an after party up in a suite somewhere drinking. Could have been the California State Convention, I don't remember. But he was drunk. He gets drunk all the time. That guy drinks way more than anybody should. And he got into it with me about Hoppe, and I was just still kind of really reading Hoppe, but he's like everything he said is bullshit, and he's not a good writer, and it's not even interesting to read, and all this shit. I was like, dude, I mean, can't you just the one thing I brought up, I was like, can't you even just take in argumentation ethics? I mean, this is like a really simple principle for you to understand, right. And it's pretty concrete. I mean, it's hard to argue. You know what I mean?
It's not even just concrete. I mean, it literally evolved philosophy itself.
Yeah.
It evolved philosophy itself. Like it's the largest, in my opinion, it's one of the largest contributions any libertarian has ever made to philosophy in general. It totally subverted Hume's the is-ought gap, Hume's guillotine. No, people have been trying to do that for hundreds of years.
Right.
Like, he did it. Like, do you people not understand how significant that is? Like, in my opinion, the guy should have been interviewed for every philosophy magazine that ever existed for doing that.
No, they couldn't do that. He's not left enough, buddy.
Exactly.
Let's see. Level Zero, man. Thanks a lot for the $5 super chat. He said, proudly not physically removed from Jared's timeline.
Well, hopefully you stick around, buddy.
We'd have to physically remove Nicholas Sarwark, I think.
Oh yeah.
Undoubtedly. He's gone. Let's talk about crushing the anti-fascist mob, dude.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. So it's been a crazy year for the Antifas. Okay, and the Black Lives Matter movement and all this stuff. Yep. We spent over a year watching them burn and loot private businesses, private property, and a lot of libertarians were cheering it on. Saying, well, they got it. It always came down to this stupid fucking argument. Well, they got insurance. Okay. So we're raising their insurance premiums unneeded.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You got health insurance. Can I break your leg?
Yeah, no shit. Is it cool? Is it all right? And It came to, I used to be one of these people obviously I'm a supporter of peaceful protests. I think there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I don't give a shit what cause you're fighting for, as long as it's peaceful and you're not hurting, autonomous people and private property and all the shit. But it went way past that, dude. And so, I mean, what is crush? That sounds really jarring. We got to crush the anti-fascist mob, but what do you think? What do you think we should have done with the looters, man?
Honest to God, I really do believe in what Hoppe said. I think that the guys that were out there, especially the business owners and anybody else that was trying to protect those businesses, should have beaten their asses. That's what has to happen. There has to be pushback against this. If the cops aren't willing to do their jobs, then it is not a required responsibility. But it is definitely something that we can exercise and do, right? We can stop these people from violating private property rights. We can stop these people from trying to harm people and burn businesses and loot places. Absolutely. Only in democratic America would you be seen as a terrible person for trying to stop these people. On what planet is it okay to just stand by and have the bystander effect and watch this stuff happen? Like, do these people think it's funny? Do you just want to watch why people's lives are ruined or your communities are destroyed? It's absolutely insane. Yeah, absolutely. Stop these people. And if that includes and up to being as abrasive as saying crush the anti-fascist mob.
Yep. Shout out to my homies, the Rooftop Koreans. I'm a big fan of your work.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Man, you watched all those videos, right? Of the LA riots and all that?
I lived in California when they were happening, dude.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you? That's awesome, man.
Yeah, here's the crazy shit, bro. So when I was young. I mean, I was probably six, maybe 7 when the LA riots happened, because it was 1988, 89.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so I had to be 6 or 7. We lived in the projects, dude. Right outside of Oakland, right? And they were fucking rioting in Northern California too. It wasn't just in LA. And you know, we were probably one of maybe 3 white families in the entire projects. I mean, it was bad. And it was just my single mother and me and my baby sister, who was probably like 1 at the time. And my mom's losing her shit. She's like, whoa, fuck, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? You know? And the next door neighbor was like this big Crip gang leader. And he like comes over and he's pounding on the door. And my mom's like, oh, should we open it? You know, she opens the door. His name was like June or something. And he's like, I just want y'all to know that you're all right with us. We got your back, you know. And my mom's like, thank God, you know, because we've been fucked. And but it's a pretty funny story. I don't know if my mom's in the chat. She's in every single chat for almost every show.
Shout out to Josh's mom.
Yeah, she's awesome. If she's not in the chat, she'll watch it tomorrow. She watched every show. I have the most supportive mother ever. We really came from fucking nothing. You know what I mean? So
hey, man,
she's always
right here too. I mean, like, you know, now I do very well. I've got a very nice job and I do very well. But you know, I grew up in the foothills of Appalachia.
Oh, like, shit,
straight up.
Yeah.
Like we were not wealthy people. And I have respect for people that grow up like that because it makes you appreciate things so much.
Yeah, it really does, man.
Every beautiful blessing that I have, I thank God for. So
especially that private property, bro.
Hell yeah.
It's like when you get a little bit of property, you're like, come and take it, motherfucker. I dare you.
Yeah,
I dare you. You know what I had to do to get this shit?
Yeah, exactly. The struggle. That's really why we do this, right?
Yep.
Like we want people to have what's theirs. We don't want people to be robbed. We want people to be able to live peaceful lives without being threatened all the time. That's what this is all about. Like what's the point of philosophy is to just, you know, to describe the world around us, but the point of ideology itself is to make sure that we all live peaceful and good lives, right? Like that should be really the goal, unless you're like, you know, a psychopath.
Sure.
So,
sure.
You know, at the end of the day, that's what we're all here for. And sometimes we need to remember that.
Yep, I agree. And yeah, shout out to everyone in the chat, man, that watched the show that didn't go over to Timcast in real life and watch Dave Smith and Michael Heiss. I appreciate y'all. Dave Smith's been big time in me, man. He was supposed to come back on my show in August, and he's just ignoring me. And then I tried to get him on for the 100th episode coming up in a couple weeks with Maj Touré and Phil from All That Remains and maybe Eric July. Awesome. And we're gonna do like a culture war episode. And he's big time in me, Dave. If you watch this, because I know you watch every show, man. I know you do. I'm trying to get you for the 100th episode, man.
Shout out to Dave, though, for real. Like, you know, me and Dave obviously have disagreements, I'm sure, but like he's done a lot to bring the message out to people, and I appreciate him for that.
Dude is steadfast, dude.
He really is. I still want him to debate me on some topics, but maybe we can make that happen someday.
Hey, as long as you're not a fucking pissant like that, that Vin Diesel dude, whatever his name is, you're good to go.
Cyprian,
or
something.
The midget prostitute guy. you know what I'm talking about, dude.
Yeah.
That guy.
Me and him got into an argument on Twitter about his path,
his time preference. That fucking guy,
what a good example, right?
I can't with that guy, man. Well, hey, we're coming to the end of the public stream. For you guys who don't know, I do a members only after hour stream with every guest. If you join the YouTube channel here, it's like $6 a month. You get into all of those live, and I always ask your questions, not just super chats in there. And you also get like all the cool, hand drawn graphics for the chat that Top Lobster drew. But hey, man, I really appreciate you coming on. What do you got coming up next, Jared? What's going on for you and Hoppe.org, man?
So, hey, just to put it out there, if you're a React dev with experience in DevOps, we could really use a volunteer right now. Please reach out to the main account. We could really use some help getting some things going. Shout out to Neocon Remover. He did our physical removal t-shirt design. Great guy. I've known Bert forever. He's a really, really genuinely beautiful human being, and I love him very much. Shout out to Mac from Mac and Liberty. She runs our social media accounts. She does a fantastic job. I couldn't have asked for a better helper for our social media. She does a fantastic job. Shout out to Taylor. He's our business development guy. A lot of you guys met him at YAL. Shout out to Colton Maxwell Anderson. He's one of our primary editors. He does such a fantastic job in keeping me on my toes and making sure I'm doing what I need to do. Shout out to our core developer who has done some fantastic work up to this point, getting all of our stuff going. Thank you so much. Please check out hopping.org. Please definitely check out PFS. PFS is so important, guys. Please check out PFS and support PFS. And then follow us on Twitter and social media at the Hoppian, and you can find me at my if you can see it right there in democracy. And definitely subscribe and like. Josh is a fantastic human being as well, and I appreciate him so much for having me on.
Dude, I really appreciate you, man. And before you go, I also want to give a shout out to Mac and Jack. We got into it, I think it was last year too, around that same time with the Hoppe thing and the emo Hoppian kid and all that shit went down and we got into it. But she's really cool, man. And so I'm sorry that we got into it. And emo, wherever you're at, man, come find me. Let's talk. Dude, I seriously appreciate you, Jared, coming on. I'm a big fan, man. And if you could just hold on a couple minutes, I'll get that members only stream started.
Absolutely, brother.
All right, bro. All right, another awesome episode of Break the Cycle. Jared's super cool, man. Go follow him. Go follow hopping.org. Read all Hoppe shit. It's amazing. I'm like I said, I'm just getting back into it, and I got through democracy. It was great. It's stone cold, bulletproof, hard to argue. I have to believe that most of the people who are constantly criticizing Hoppe have never read Hoppe. So, anyways, guys, go check out our sponsors, toplobster.com, for all your wonderful graphic design needs. My brother, my partner on the show. So where you get this great Ron Paul, it didn't have to be this way hoodie that I'm wearing today on Ron Paul's birthday. I probably should have wore the physical removal shirt because I do have that shirt, but it was dirty. I think my fiance didn't clean it. If she's in the chat, I love you, babe. Also, anthemplanning.com for all your emergency and crisis planning needs. Check them out today. See what they can do for your business, home, or personal life. They're doing a wonderful job that the government has historically sucked at. Much cheaper and much more efficiently. Guys, coming up on the show next week. Let me go. I know we got some cool shows coming up. I know Andrew Heaton's coming on from Reason, but he's a funny comedian, so I know everybody tonight's probably not the biggest Reason fans, but I promise you he's funny. Coming up next week, Andrew Heaton. Pete Quinones returns to the show on Tuesday. That's going to be great. Stephen Daniel will be on Wednesday talking about his book on the Second Amendment. Charlie Robinson on Thursday and Friday. There is going to be a special show that I'm not going to talk about now. Definitely check it out. Definitely subscribe. Definitely become a member of this channel so you can check out all the members-only streams. Guys, enjoy your weekend. I appreciate you coming out. I will see you Monday for the show with Andrew Heaton. But until then, don't forget to break the cycle.
Have to explain the lyrics of my last song may seem to contain a violent call to action in the verse and refrain, but I just meant it in Minecraft. The helicopter part was in reference to GTA 5 and the things you do. So any violence you commit, I am not an excuse because I just meant it in Minecraft. Well, Chipper is my friend and he's constantly cold. Accusations of incitement getting totally old. Make your own choices, yeah, you have control because I just meant it in Minecraft. Obviously, I would never advocate force unless there's due process and a trial, of course. And if you're convicted, we will make you a corpse in Minecraft, just in Minecraft. Nothing I mean, you know it. No product finished cause it closed from COVID. Holy shit, I think I'm